Welcome to More Context. How did we lose? Today I examined the exit polling. We see a huge shift in Latinos from Biden to Trump. It appears, as I was worried about in the Amin Khalif video I made a few weeks ago, the Democratic strategy of embracing Republican border policy backfired. Now today I'm already hearing Democrats saying maybe they need to move further to the right, but that is the problem. Previously, Democrats would argue you shouldn't be afraid of immigrants and actually stood up for immigrant rights. When they stopped doing that, it took away the main reason for Latinos to support them. Also, Kamala tried to run almost exclusively on abortion, but Latinos are majority Catholic, and Hope is still against abortion. So it should not be surprising that there were problems here. If we had had a proper primary, we probably could have done better messaging here. Biden is also a Catholic, so his pro-choice stance was probably more acceptable coming from a fellow Catholic than Kamala's. So were we wrong to support abortion? Absolutely not. Harris tried to win on this issue, and it's a winning issue. While it did not pass the 60% needed in Florida, 57% is an awful lot of support. And if Kamala could have actually tapped into that, it should have been an easy win. Instead, Trump won 56% in Florida. So a ton of people voted for abortion, and then for president, voted for the guy who caused Roe v. Wade to end and is surrounded by people planning a full nationwide abortion ban. In the exit polling, we see that Trump managed to get half of those saying it should be legal in most cases. That is absolutely wild. All of those who wanted abortion illegal knew where to vote, but somehow half of those saying legal in most cases voted for the opposite of that. A 38-point swing from Biden. I did run into someone who told me Biden caused the end of Roe v. Wade because he was president. I tried to explain separation of powers and that Trump appointed the Supreme Court majority, but I worry this kind of misattribution of policies may be very, very widespread. During Trump's first term, he largely skated by on Obama's economy until he destroyed it in 2020. Then Biden needed most of his term just to get everything under control again. But he managed the best post-COVID recovery in the industrialized world. Despite that, prices went up, and crucially, he did not raise the minimum wage. He could have, but he let the Senate parliamentarian, who has no real power, say no, even though Republicans have repeatedly disregarded the parliamentarian to achieve their goals. So, for those at the bottom, prices are up, and wages remain stagnant. Telling them that median wages are rising again doesn't do anything for them, which made them easy marks for Trump. Which brings me to the final thing I wanted to look at from the exit polling. First-time voters shifted massively from Biden to Trump. Conservatives for years have been building right-wing pipelines, which basically try to find vulnerable people economically, emotionally, socially, and turn them into right-wingers. So there's a bunch of pipelines I would classify as anti-woke. These are the ones focusing on calling everything woke and blaming everything on wokeness. I ran into this for the first time with some of the newer Star Wars and Star Trek films. Shows which I didn't really like, and I can explain at length why I didn't like them. But not one of the reasons is so-called wokeness. Yet you will find dozens of popular YouTube channels who put out hundreds of videos, and they all go something like this. Hey, that movie or show was bad. We all agree it was bad. Here's one of the reasons it was bad. Did you know they did that because of Name's a Woman or because they were trying to be woke? The real problem with the shows we like is women and wokeness. Now watch 100 more videos where I do the same thing and slowly build conspiracy theories and then bring on other conservatives to talk about other things women and wokeness are destroying. That's how they try to get you. This is especially ironic for Star Trek, the show that boasts the first interracial kiss on TV and has always been super woke. If your problem with Star Trek is that it's too woke, then your problem is Star Trek. There have always been bad shows and movies, and they're too afraid to have new shows or movies stand on their own now. So they always put them in an existing universe with existing IP. So of course we will have bad shows and movies now inside franchises we otherwise like. You can just not watch those shows or movies. It's weird to hyper-focus on the shows and movies you don't like. There was also the rise and fall of Andrew Tate in 2022. For about a year, he was one of the most popular figures online. He ran what was essentially a multi-level marketing scheme, where users received a commission for recruiting others, called Hustlers University. It was later renamed into The Real World. In 2024, their account data was leaked, and it was just shy of 1 million users who at some point paid the $50 a month subscription. Also, over a few different channels, the content that they made publicly available had hundreds of millions of views. Hustlers University preyed on insecure men, telling them they can become rich and become alphas who get hot models like him. They basically sold how-to courses on misogyny and eventually how to human traffic. Tate would be arrested for human trafficking. But I'll go through how he got arrested after I talk about the rest of these pipelines, because it is funny and there is some hope to be found in it. Alienation. They provide community for alienated men, especially divorced dads or dads upset about paying child support. These have become almost memes at this point with how many of these are Republicans. Of course, there is always the question, are they Republicans because they're divorced, or are they divorced because they are Republicans? The anger at child support is linked to the abortion debate. Not so much that they are mad about abortion, but they are mad that women get a second chance to decide not to have a child, while men don't get to have that second chance. There's the incel movement, stands for involuntarily celibate. Basically a bunch of sad men who make their entire identity about how they can't get women. So they get together and seem to practice on how to be as repulsive to women as possible. Seems like a bad strategy to me. They blame women and hotter guys for all their problems, and the Republican Party actively recruits them. Anti-trans propaganda. I discussed it more in my video about Imane Khalif, but it is also used as a pipeline looking for people upset about being asked to use pronouns and upset about trans people in sports. Again, they will let you know you aren't alone and your freedom of speech is being violated by people who call you transphobic. Come join us. So back to Andrew Tate. It's late 2022. Tate decides to tweet at Greta Thunberg, the climate change activist, showing off his cars and their emissions, and asking for an email address. Greta Thunberg responds with what was one of the most liked tweets of all time. Yes, please do enlighten me. Email me at smalldickenergy@getalife.com. Now this gets Tate real mad. So he ends up filming a video response, and I'm going to show it to you so you have a better understanding of who Andrew Tate is, and so you can see how he got arrested.
Release some greenhouse gases. I'm obviously a stranger to online controversy. It's not something I often do. But now, the mainstream press is commenting on the fact that I was informing Greta that my very extensive car collection with internal combustion engines, which run on dead dinosaurs, have an enormous emission profile. And she replied by telling me her own email address. Greta's email address is, I have small dick energy. Why would that be your own email address, Greta? Strange. I mean, obviously I don't want to assume her gender. It's 50-50, but it is what it is. I'm not actually mad at Greta. Please bring me pizza and make sure that these boxes are not recycled. Thank you. So I'm not actually mad at Greta, right? Because she doesn't realize she's been programmed. She doesn't realize she's a slave of the Matrix. She thinks she's doing good. Someone has sat her down and convinced her to try and convince you to beg your government to tax you into poverty to stop the sun from being hot. And then, because I called her out on it, the global Matrix got this bot farm to like and retweet and all this bot commenting to try and pretend that her telling me that she has a small dick in her own email address somehow teaches me a lesson. Welcome to a new episode of The Clown Show. But now I know at least that Greta, with her little hate-filled face, bitter, sitting somewhere without the heating on, in the cold, a little hat, shivering, views my tweets, which is going to make my Twitter account far more fun into eternity.
So see that pizza box there? That's of a local Romanian pizza chain. Now, police have tried to deny this, but it is widely believed. Police used this to confirm his location, because in under 24 hours, his compounds were raided. Andrew Tate, his brother, and 2 women who were helping them were arrested, and 6 victims were identified. Okay, so that was 2 years ago. Why does it still matter? Well, Andrew Tate had another live streamer who was a super fan of him, named Adin Ross. The first thing you need to know about Adin Ross is he is breathtakingly stupid, but sadly also still has a huge following. even though he regularly platforms Nazis and Andrew Tate. But how big of a superfan are we talking about? Yeah, that's a chair Andrew Tate had just been sitting in. Talk about a weirdo. So is Adin Ross a fascist? Well, I'm not sure, but he may be a far-right authorization. Check this out.
What does a fascist mean? It means you are a far-right authorization ultra analyst, political ideology movement characterized by dictator leadership, centralized autocracy, militarism, forcible suppression of opposition. So I don't know what that means, bro. I swear to God. I don't know what the fuck a fascism is. I don't know what the fuck that is. Benito Mussolini and Giovanni Gentile and Jason Stanley. Like, who the fuck are these people, bro? Never heard of my fucking life. What is an example of a fascist? Yo! All right, bro. See what I'm saying, chat? Like, this is why I don't fuck with y'all, bro. Like, dude, like, this is what the fuck I don't... Bro, I don't fuck with y'all, bro. I do not fuck with you guys, bro.
Now, you may be asking, how can I be sure he's not putting on an act? Is he really that stupid? Well, Andrew Tate eventually was able to get out of prison on condition that he didn't leave the country. So he emailed Adin Ross to meet up.
Andrew had hit me up. He said, hey, I'm going to be leaving Romania soon and probably never coming back. If you want to come over and do a week of long streams and content before I leave, I think it'll be big. And he said it's basically now or never.
Yeah, so Andrew Tate was promptly arrested after Adin Ross live streamed that to thousands of viewers. So we've got two weird losers who promote misogyny, human trafficking, and Nazis. But how can I be sure it really connects to the Republican Party?
I'll tell you about TikTok. Trump is going to keep TikTok going, whereas Biden and Harris, they have no idea what it means. And all it's going to do is be good for China the other way. It's no good. We're going to save TikTok. They want to destroy TikTok. So all of the people on TikTok, vote for Trump.
Vote for Trump.
This was just a few weeks ago. So yes, Republicans have been funneling young men into their party, but the people doing it are incredibly stupid and gross and weird. And yes, we should point out how weird their leaders are, but we also need to do a better job of building communities, keep people from falling for these pipelines. We're in for a tough few years. The only way we get through them is together. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube. A special thanks to Mary Kay Baum for being my first subscriber on Patreon and encouraging me to continue making these.